Here we are, going to work on another area of our lives for moving from an insecure attachment to a secure attachment. This is where we want to be. Hopefully it's where we want to be, right? In the secure attachment area, where we have lots of secure attachment with partners, friends, or our own kids. And so what's an area that we can do this in? Well, we can communicate openly and assertively with those around us. And so how are we going to do this, right? Well, one way is we're going to express our needs instead of assuming that people should just know, right? Nobody's a mind reader. So one of the most common traps in insecure attachment is the silent hope or demand that others will just know what we need and what we want without having to communicate it at all. This often comes from past experiences where expressing our emotions and our needs were ignored, punished, or shamed. And over time, you may have learned to suppress your needs entirely, or to test people to see if they really even care. And we want to get away from that, right? We don't want to test people. We don't want to see if they're going to leave. We want to give them choices to be within our healthy boundaries, if we have healthy boundaries, and choices to do something for us, just like they would give us choices to do something for them. But that's the key word. It's choices. We're not testing people. Testing people would be insecure attachment styles. So secure attachment requires unlearning the myth of mind reading. Even people who love you deeply can't meet your needs if you don't communicate them. And that, of course, means with words, right? So instead of waiting in silence or stewing in resentment, practice saying some of these things. Like, it's important for me to feel connected. Can we have some uninterrupted time together soon? Or, I feel overwhelmed today. Could you help me figure out dinner? So when you express your needs calmly and confidently, you give others the opportunity to meet you with love. And you yourself become empowered for your own self-advocacy. So remember, that's choices that you're giving somebody. So why does this matter? Well, secure communication fosters mutual respect. It replaces guessing games with clarity and helps build relationships where both people feel seen and supported. So what's another area we can do this in our daily lives? Well, we can use I statements to own your experience and reduce defensiveness. So insecure attachment can lead to communication that feels blaming, perhaps vague, or overly intense at times. This triggers defensiveness in others, right? If you can think about to your own argument that you've had when you've been in an insecure attachment, and how we can lead, like the arguments can escalate pretty quickly, and they really do lead to defensiveness in others and then back into ourselves, right? Which then often leads to disconnection within the relationship. So using I statements shifts the focus back to your inner experience without attacking or accusing the other person. So instead of saying, "You never text me and obviously you don't care," try saying something like this: "I feel anxious when I don't hear from you during the day. Would you be open to checking up more regularly?" And of course, that's a choice you're giving somebody. Now, they may not like that choice. They may not think it's a great choice, but maybe there's some middle ground. But you will never know if you cannot express yourself in a healthy, emotionally communicative way to your partner or somebody else that you have a relationship with. So I statements help you express vulnerability rather than criticism. They encourage collaboration instead of conflict, and they keep the conversation grounded in emotional honesty and mutual respect. So why does this matter? Well, secure communication doesn't avoid difficult emotions. It delivers them in a way that invites connection, not distance. Right? We're going for that collaborative communication with each other. Not saying it's going to go perfectly well all the time, or that we're always going to get what we want in the situation, but maybe there's, like I said, some middle ground in there for us, and it starts to get that conversation going, to hopefully build upon that and then build upon the other conversations that you have in the future, and so on and so forth, so that we get away from the way we used to have a conversation with people. So what's another area that we can utilize this communicating openly and assertively in? Well, we can avoid passive aggressive behaviors or shutting down when we're feeling insecure. So insecure attachment often shows up in indirect communication. So giving the silent treatment, making sarcastic comments, saying I'm fine when you're not, or withdrawing altogether. These behaviors are often self-protective, but they create confusion and erode trust in relationships. So these behaviors are probably behaviors that we are either mirroring, or that they were survival tactics that we used in our childhood, but they no longer serve us now that we're adults and we can create our own secure attachment and our own secure home environments. So instead of shutting down or lashing out, pause and name what's happening inside of you. You can say, I'm feeling really tender right now, and I don't want to say something I don't mean. Can we talk in a bit? Or I'm struggling with feeling insecure and I'm trying not to shut down. I want to talk about it, but I do need a moment. So regulate first and then communicate. If you're too dysregulated to speak calmly, take a break. Then return with clarity and intention. It's okay to say, I need an hour, I need 60 seconds, I need 30 minutes, maybe I need a few hours. You should always come back to the topic at hand. But like it was said, if you cannot regulate yourself, you probably shouldn't be communicating in that moment, because it will just escalate the argument. And then you and your partner or whoever you're with will just end up being very disconnected in that moment, and then you have to rebuild the connection again, which is sometimes harder to do than perhaps just pausing in the moment. So why does this matter? Secure communication means staying present, even when it is hard to do. It requires honesty without hostility and openness without overexposure. It's a muscle that gets stronger with practice. So when we think about like muscle memory, this really does work in our communication and in our relationships, just as much as if you were playing a sport like tennis or basketball or jiu-jitsu, right? Like any of those things, you have to do this over time, again and again and again. And you build that muscle memory so that when you're in that sport, you don't really have to think about it anymore. You're able to just do it. That's the same when it comes to communicating openly and assertively. If you don't have any practice, this doesn't just happen overnight. This really is a muscle that we're going to build. And not only that, but like our body responses, right? If we're in an insecure attachment growing up, our body learns to respond in a certain way. And then that response sometimes happens quicker than our thoughts do at times. And so we're having these thoughts and then our body's responding a certain way. And then the conversation is just getting out of control. And so we really do need to stop and slow down and build upon that muscle memory so that we can just be better at this going forward. A lot of hard work. But in the end, you will be super happy that you did it. It will really be so wonderful, I think, to move into more secure attachments with those people around us. And so we're here at the comment section. My favorite part, where we get to hear your stories in life. What is it that you're struggling when it comes to communicating openly and assertively? Do you not struggle with it? Do you have some tips for other people that you utilize in your everyday life that you could give to people in the comments below? Just drop a comment and let's get the conversation started.